What is up, guys? Politics Gaming here, and today is a brand new episode of the United Mexican States. Go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new, become a member of the channel if you are interested in some exclusive content for Power and Revolution, and as well as World Warfare and Economics. Very excited to preview the new World Warfare and Economics game, and if you have not seen my gameplay on the channel, go ahead and check that out in my live stream category. But other than that, in the previous episode, what we did is that we started a massive trade war with the People's Republic of China. So we do see that we have damaged our relations with the People's Republic. However, we will not be worrying about that. It also does seem that there is a brand new president in China. We have Zhang Tang. So essentially something has happened to Xi Jinping, and I'm not familiar as to what happened. Maybe he was assassinated, or maybe he stepped down, or something of the sort. What is the unemployment rate? 7.6%, inflation 2.75%, but the national deficit is a whopping 10.48%. So it's probably because of the massive deficit that China is seeing. It looks like that China is facing an economic crisis. So that means that us in Mexico do have some sort of advantage over them, as our economy is way more stable than the Chinese economy right now. So it looks like that real estate bubble is really starting to take a toll on the Chinese economy. We do see that inflation is on its way up, so we need to use this episode today to try to reduce it. And as well, we're going to go over here and study our taxation. We're going to look, and we're going to see that tariffs are at 132 billion pesos, which accounts for $7.7 billion. So what this is up from, so the game actually starts Mexico off with about a $3 to $5 billion custom duty revenue. So we have increased our custom duties for Mexico a little bit, so we have netted a couple $2 billion off of this. So that's at least why we're seeing a little bit of a lower deficit here. But what I also want to do is we are going to spend a little bit of this money in improving the military, the standing of the military. We want to aim for at least 500 to 600,000 career soldiers. We want to have a sizable military here. 65,000 reservists is okay, but at least we do have room for a lot of a general mobilization if we need it. I really wish there was a way that we can directly increase our reserves here, but unfortunately that is not a thing yet. We also really want to start improving our stash of mortar rounds. I really want to get up to at least 100,000 of these, but go over to Mexico and 4,000, let's see, 5,000. We'll get that done in August. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend a little bit of time buying these. So I'm going to buy at least 100,000. That'll be about $1 billion. I'll probably be spending at $73 million each. Yeah, I'm probably estimating we're going to spend at least maybe 73 million pesos. Not $73 million, 73 million pesos. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and spend a little bit of time. We're going to get up to at least 500. We're going to get up to 100,000 mortar rounds, and we're going to be stashed for a long time at that point. All right, and we are back. So we go over to our army tab, and we do see that we have 136,000 mortar objective right now. So that is a huge improvement and will definitely be beneficial to our national stockpile. And all we have to do now, we're going to aim for at least 10,000 missiles here. So if I wanted to go over here, let's go to the United States, see how much it costs to buy from them, because they have the best. 500 and wow, 96 billion pesos here. I think that's around about $10 billion each, but we could get it in a pretty substantial amount of time. But I think that would be a very long time before we were able to do anything. But actually, let's go to the United States. 500 of them, and we can get them by like April. 96 billion pesos. That's about $5 billion. Let's go ahead and what if I wanted 1,500? 613. Let's do 500 for now, and that'll be a pretty good start to the improvement of our national stockpiles, and then kind of like intermittently we will be increasing our military stockpiles. And we are pretty okay on weapons, but what we want to do is make sure that we are stocked in terms of infantry equipment and mortar rounds and probably missiles, because we're going to have to be able to use our missile launchers at some point. So let's go over to work, and our rate of unemployment is 0, but our our illegal employment is actually starting to go down. So I think that was the minimum wage decrease that we saw. So maybe we can try to figure out how to get that even lower, but we're pretty good in terms of our it was our employees' social security payments. So we were making 648 billion pesos off of that, and maybe we can increase it. We can also maybe commit to a reduction in the company tax, maybe 23%. And then I also want to do a tobacco tax and a salt and animal fats in the agri-food sector. And I think that'll be it in any new taxes we want to introduce, because I don't want to do a vehicle registration tax. I don't want to do a pet tax. I don't want to do a gambling tax. I don't want to do deforestation. I don't think I want to do deforestation. Plastics. Yeah, we're really not gonna introduce any other taxes. I think for the creation of the tobacco and salt and animal fat tax, I want to eliminate a tax. So what could I eliminate in order to introduce these taxes? I could eliminate the highway toll tax, basically just saying that we no longer support taxing the roads. That will be a little bit, so maybe we can do it at 1/4 peso. That'll lose us 5.7 billion pesos. And let's introduce this as a reform. We're going to call this the Tax Reduction and Introduction Act. We're going to create the reform, and then we're going to introduce the tobacco tax. And we're going to introduce a salt and animal fat tax. This is mainly because Mexico has very dirty water, and then basically what we can do is there's a lot of people that basically solely depend on Coca-Cola and other types of sodas. So what we can do is to both attack the heart disease epidemic in Mexico, and as well as if we are able to attack the dependence on Coca-Cola in Mexico, we can start to introduce a tax on salt and animal fats. It's to limit the consumption of foods that are judged to be unhealthy by increasing a value-added tax that on products that are likely to encourage cardiovascular diseases and obesity. So let's do a tax of 2.5%, and then we want to increase this over time. Let's do a 5% turnover tax. People won't like that, but the Congress of the Union will definitely support it. So let's go ahead and introduce this to the Congress, and they do support this. And what else could we reduce as a tax? Legislation, regular and repressive. Let's go over to here, and let's do maybe a reduction in the gas tax. Could we? 5.5 pesos here. Yeah, I think that'll help. Then let's go to the next day, see what the reaction to this is. And people like it socially, healthily, automobile, environment, but people didn't like the effect that it has on agriculture or purchasing power. So the United States has an agreement negotiation for those missiles, and wow, that is a lot of money. Yeah, we're gonna hold off for right now. We will try to develop our own missile industry and maybe get that off the ground. We also see that our railways are still under construction. And I also saw a news report that Mexico finally opened a train line that connects Cancun to Mérida to Chetumal to Villa Hermosa, and all of these cities basically connecting the entire Yucatan Peninsula. So we're going to go ahead and start on our own train project on the same type of idea. So we're going to do this. We're going to connect Cancun to Mérida, and then that'll be 74 billion pesos. We have a treasury reserve, so what we're going to do is that we're going to finance this entire train project with the treasury reserve, and then any remaining amount of money we're going to use to pay off our debt. But I really want to finance a lot of projects with this treasury reserve, since we do have the money and deficit power to do so. So we're going to get that done in 6 months, and then we're going to do another one, and this will connect down to Campeche. All right, and what we did is that we have the following train stations. So Cancun connects over to Mérida, to connect to Campeche, to connect to Villa Hermosa, which connects to Cota, whatever, and over to Tehuacan. And then Tehuacan also has a southern connection to Oaxaca. And then Tehuacan also connects up to Puebla, and then that connects to the rest of the Mexican transport system. And so basically now we have a direct connection from San Antonio all the way over to Cancun. So instead of taking a trip, you can use the Mexican transport system, the Mexican high-speed rail system, and basically get an entire trip all the way through Mexico through one line. So not only can you skip the entire boring sea route all the way over to Cancun, you can use your money. You can use your money and try to visit as much of Mexico as you can. This is a huge tourism opportunity in order to allow for more people, especially in Texas and the southern United States, to have a more open way into getting into Mexico. So hopefully this does encourage not only tourism, but as well as immigration and more. And as well, speaking of immigration, I think what we're going to do to encourage this is to say tourist tax on entering the country. Theoretically, the income generated by this tax is aimed at encouraging the development of the country's tourism. Let's try to reduce this to 100 pesos right now, so that way we can try to say that it makes it cheaper for other people to get into the country, especially tourists, because we don't want them to be spending all of their money on the tourism fees in order to get into the country. So a little bit of a hit to the tourism funding industry, but hopefully this does encourage tourism somehow. We're going to go ahead and add that to the reform, and then so we have the Tax Reduction Introduction Act. We're going to skip forward to when it passes. All right, and we are back. We're going to go to health real quick, and we're going to start to study how much of an increase in our national healthcare system we can do. So one of the ways that we can increase our immigration is to improve our quality of health as well as our standing image, which also includes our quality of life. To improve our quality of life, we need to improve our healthcare system. Our life expectancy is only 79 years old. We need to reduce our child mortality rate. We need to reduce the population per medical doctor. We need to reduce the population per hospital bed. Seropositive, I wouldn't think has an effect on this, but overdose per 100,000 is actually pretty high, but it is on its way down. Deaths due to AIDS, which also has to do with seropositiveness, is on its way down, as well as seropositive. If you're wondering what seropositive is, it is the population of Mexico that has been diagnosed with AIDS. So let's go over here. So we have HIV positive persons. The most amount is in Africa, with 7.8 million people being diagnosed with AIDS. So that is a very unfortunate aspect, but let's go ahead and do this. So we have a 0.98% deficit, and we're going to go increase our financial transaction tax in order to pay for this. So we're going to increase this to 400,000 medical staff, along with a 38.1 billion peso cost. I think what we'll do as well, we're going to spend at least about 150 billion pesos on our healthcare system, and we are going to be able to pay for this, so don't you worry about that. But let's go ahead and do a increase for the reimbursement for doctor's visits. Actually, because that is so expensive, we're going to hold off, but we are going to do coverage for work accidents, coverage for medical leave or maternity leave, hygiene and maintenance in our establishments. And since that is actually so cheap, we're going to increase that fully. We're going to do a modernization of medical equipment, fully fund, occupational medicine, maternity. We're going to do emergency departments. We're going to do psychiatric wards as well, geriatric, handicap services, prevention and vaccination. I guess we're going to do a cap of 200 billion pesos here. Fight against AIDS, fight against cancer, fight against orphan diseases, and let's do reimburse on prescriptions. No. Hospital treatment, 268 billion pesos. I think we will do the reimbursement for hospital visits, but we're going to reduce our medical staff to 329,000 staff, so that'll be up. And let's just do 300,000. 250 billion pesos increases our deficit to 1.71%. And let's go over here. What we want to do, so our biggest killers in Mexico right now is heart disease and diabetes, both of which have a lot to do with how people are eating. So that is why we increased to that 5% salt tax, and that hopefully will have a drastic effect on diabetes and heart disease. That is going to be the overall goal here. So if we can start to reduce heart disease and diabetes, that will really, really help the quality of life in Mexico. We also really want to make sure that our life expectancy is going to be at least some of the highest in the world. And as well, let's go ahead and employ the construction of a couple of hospitals. Let's do 60 hospitals right here. 54 billion pesos is our cost today. And to reduce suicide, we will also employ the construction of another 20 psychiatric hospitals. That'll cost us 24,000 workers. So we're really starting to get a lot of workers on the job here. 72,000 are employed with these hospital constructions, so we really want to kind of hold off on doing too many constructions because we want to have a little bit of staff on standby just in case. We also could introduce a retirement age increase. However, a lot of times you could probably tell how that would end, so we don't really want to mess with that unless we have to. Income exoneration for private retirement schemes. If we wanted to do private retirement schemes, encourages private pensions. Employees save on their own pensions as they won't get enough from the system of redistribution. That will cost the budget 150 billion pesos here. And regulate consumption of marijuana. It is legal in Mexico. Legal age for alcohol consumption. Let's do a poll to see what would happen if we were to increase it to the age of 20. If we wanted to do that, what if we wanted to do 19? That could be a thing, but maybe we'll hold off for right now. Surrogacy, we are at varies according to region. We could also do as it is federally legal as a altruistic act if we wanted to. Alright, and so we are starting to get into the final couple of days before the Caillou Summit, which obviously marks the end of this episode. So what we did in the previous episode is that we introduced a massive education reform. And so what we are going to do here, well, actually in the other episode, not the last one, but the one before, we introduced a massive education reform. So what we have right here is the effects of it. So our number of higher education students went from 1.9 million to 2.1 million. So we have obviously seen a massive increase in the amount of higher education students here. We also see that student-teacher ratio has gone down from 28 from nearly 30 to under 20, and from 18 to 12 in secondary schooling. And percentage of scientists has gone up from 0.07% of the population to 0.3% of the population. So I'm really glad to see here, and obviously we have a lot of teachers. And so what I also want to do is that I want to increase the maximum school age. We failed to do this in the other episode, so I want to increase this to the age of 15. So we're going to do this to the age of 14, and then we're going to at least get it to 15. That is going to be our goal for today. And then what I also want to do is that we're going to increase school vacations to 110 days. We're going to do these both in 2 separate laws just so we can ensure that they're going to pass, because the last time I tried it, that didn't work. So we're going to go ahead and increase our maximum school age to 14, and again the goal is going to be 15, and our school vacations, the summer vacations for Mexican children, will be placed at 110 days. So really excited to see how this affects education. But the biggest thing about the school age is that will basically have an effect on our economy. So those children that are entering the workforce at the age of 12, it will now be federally illegal for them to have a job. So this could possibly increase the unemployment rate, as there are a lot of children that are going to be going out of work because of this. But it is mainly that way. We're a modern economy. We need to be a modern economy, and we don't need to be depending on children, literal children, in running our economy, especially in terms of our industrial and farming sector. In the service sector, I think maybe there could be a couple of different laws, but obviously that isn't a possibility in the game. Maybe like an exception or two in the retail sector. No, I think 14, 15 will work out for us there. Road transportation, TV channels, urban transportation. Let's go forward. And we're also just waiting to see what the effects on that healthcare reform is going to be. According to my agents, many tobacconists are willing to swing over to creating veritable black markets. All this just to sell their cigarettes. But I'm keeping an eye on them, rest assured. So he's saying that because of this huge increase in the tobacco tax, which by the way we have increased to 20% as of right now. So we see here. And we're going to continue to increase this. We're going to get this up to 60%. And the goal for the tobacco tax is not to make money. Do not increase the wine tax, the tobacco tax, the liquor tax. Do not increase these taxes in order to raise money, because you will not be raising money. You will basically be saying it is the government discouraging the use of cigarettes by its population. So in order to prevent people or discourage them from using these cigarettes or buying them less, we will institute a 60% tax on cigarette packs in order to alleviate those concerns. And then that way it'll also reduce our mortality cases of let's go over to health, and it's going to reduce our mortality or cause of death cases for lung cancer, or respiratory disease. So you see right here, we see an immediate effect as soon as this tobacco tax has passed. Let's go over to tuberculosis. We see an effect here. Is it actually unvaccinated malnutrition, insufficient quality of public health and hygiene? Breast cancer, lung cancer. Yep, we see an immediate effect right here. At least it's been on the decline since 2026, September of 2026. We do see tobacco, cannabis, inactivity, etc., etc., etc. But heart disease is on its way down. Respiratory disease is very sharply declining here, so I'm very excited to see that. And suicide will be tackled with those increases in suicide prevention and as well as psychiatric institutes. $1.04 trillion cash surplus, cash or peso surplus, not cash, not dollar surplus. Me kind of jumbling my words around. Government effectiveness, 95% of bills have been passed by the government and messengers. So we're making our way forward to the Caillou Summit. Very excited. And our new law in terms of how old you can be in order to get into the workforce has been passed. So we will try to see how much of an effect on unemployment that will have. And does it have an effect on unemployment? It does not yet. So hopefully it doesn't increase it too much, but I kind of wish that we had a variable unemployment rate right now, mainly because it does show that we have a healthy economy. Looks like Armenia's only nuclear reactor has exploded, so that is a very unfortunate case right here. Let's go ahead and send over 1 billion pesos here to the Armenians. Maybe help them out a little bit, and if they need more, then we'll send more. Does that improve our relations? Probably not too much money. Yeah, it actually increases our relations here. So good. 8% approval rating with the Armenian president. Unfortunately, he probably will not be able to survive this unfortunate setback in the nuclear industry in Armenia. Let's go ahead and check on our own nuclear industry here. So let's go over to 207 surplus. Let's go to nuclear electricity, 26 billion pesos here, and nuclear generated 76 billion, 182 billion pesos in sales, and 76 billion in revenue. And our fusion sector, 407 billion pesos and 172 billion in profit. What if I wanted to nationalize or privatize this all the way? 581 billion pesos here. It's at least like $60 billion, or maybe about $100 billion, just less than $100 billion here. Oil. Do we have the nationalization of the oil sector? We do not. Non-conventional gas. Let's go ahead and raise the exoneration here. Go ahead and get rid of the exonerations to the oil and gas sector. Non-conventional oil, we are not taxing them. Let's go ahead and start taxing them and raising the money from those sectors. So in order to develop those sectors, I exonerated them, and that is how it is supposed to work. You exonerate them for the time being. Once you see that they are at a satisfactory level, then you raise those exonerations and start taxing them once again. And that tax revenue will then immediately go into the economy. So budget modification for the CAIU organization, go ahead and increase that to the max, and we want to go again aim for that to get to at least 2%. Meeting request with the United States President, and that will be for the next episode. Go to the next day. And what is this? Central American Union, 0.14%. Unfortunately, they still don't raise it, so we're still stuck with a very low interest rate. But we're pretty good on our inflation end right now. It is actually on its way down at 6.88% at a high of 8.4% or 8.3%. So we're not worried about inflation yet. So we are successful in this episode. We successfully started to lower inflation. We successfully did a healthcare reform, and we also contributed a little bit to education and as well as improving the standing of our military. So very successful episode so far, and I'm very excited for the next one. Guys, go ahead and leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you guys want to see more content like this, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss anything whenever I do make it to the channel. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and take care.